self-care is the very first personal boundary. It's the boundary between me and burnout, between me and my old perfectionism, between me and the belief that my worth depends on what I produce. Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole, Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. If you're tired of feeling fragmented and overwhelmed, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of wholeness, authenticity, and healthy boundaries. I'm a woman in recovery who is also a boundaries coach and speaker. I share raw and honest insights from my own journey and the principles of 12-Step Recovery. Discover how to set boundaries without guilt or shame, overcome people-pleasing tendencies, manage your emotions effectively, cultivate a stronger sense of self, and build healthier relationships. My approach is raw, honest, and sometimes a little bit, a lot sweary. I'm an avid beachcomber and a formerly closeted fan of the Hallmark Channel, especially Christmas movies. I wear fingerless gloves almost all year round because my hands are always cold. And I love taking pictures of license plates with my initials BN on them. I don't speak for or endorse any particular 12-step program of recovery. Though I'm a huge fan of 12-step recovery and a member of two such fellowships, I cannot speak for them. If you're ready for real talk and practical tools for transformation, keep listening. This is episode 326, Letting Go Without Falling Apart, Real Stories of Boundaries and Self-Care. This week's episode ties right into our October theme inside Wholeness Haven, personal boundaries. During our call Wednesday night, I asked the group a question: what's the hardest boundary for you to set? When I answered, I realized that at this point in my life, the boundary I still find hardest is self-care. Now, that might sound surprising because I've come a long way in the 10 years I've been in recovery. But over the last year and a half, it's become crystal clear that I wasn't anywhere near as good at self-care as I thought. Let me tell you what's changed. I now take a full 1-hour lunch break all weekdays, no more cramming in my lunch. I no longer work on weekends. I used to record my podcast on Sundays. Now I do it on Friday afternoons. And until a couple years ago, I coached 7 days a week, Saturdays and Sundays. And I don't coach on weekends anymore. And I've stopped consuming personal development 24/7. I used to constantly listen to podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube talks, you name it. These days, I listen to fiction for fun. I watch shows, mostly Hallmark, just to relax. And I even lie on the couch and read novels. I take naps when I have to. So I still do some personal development, but it's maybe like 25% of what I consume now instead of 100. And when that old drive kicks in, the part of me that wants to just keep going until something is finished, I've learned to pause and say, nope, I need a break. I deserve a break. Now, when I shared all this on the Wholeness Haven call, the group had this collective whoa moment. They said, I never thought of self-care as a boundary. One woman said, as a perfectionist, self-care feels like the opposite of what I'm supposed to do. It feels lazy. She realized that her next step was to learn to receive, to accept compliments, and to be fully present when she's with her friends instead of worrying about productivity. And that's when it really hit me. Self-care is the very first personal boundary. It's the boundary between me and burnout, between me and my old perfectionism, between me and the belief that my worth depends on what I produce. The idea of personal boundaries got me thinking about 2 clients I've worked with, both wealthy mothers of adult sons who struggled with mental health and substance use disorders. Their stories are very different, but the transformation for both was jaw-dropping. Client 1 decided to give her son a fixed allowance. She said, this is what you'll get each month. That's it, no exceptions. Now, for years, she'd been the rescuer, jumping in to fix, manage, and save him from consequences. But when she held that line, something amazing happened. He ended up moving far away, and instead of feeling like she might die without being able to monitor him, she was able to breathe. She told me he's an adult. He gets to live his life. Somehow she just couldn't grasp that before, despite years of having been in Al-Anon. And even though it breaks her heart that he's now aligned with people whose beliefs are completely the opposite of hers, she understands that she can't stop him from learning his own lessons. That's real self-care, staying in your lane and letting others live theirs. Now, client number 2 had a nearly identical setup: adult son, money, mental health issues, constant enabling. And by the way, I'm just putting this together. This is another person who had been in Al-Anon for many years. So trying to work on these issues through the fantastic 12-step recovery group, Al-Anon, but it just wasn't clicking for her. While we worked together, she decided that she was going to hand control of his trust fund over to her other son, the one with the stronger boundaries. And she and I, by the way, were astonished by what happened next. She said, Barb, the 24/7 worry disappeared the minute I let go. She truly expected to feel worse, but instead she felt lighter. She also drew a new line. Her son with the issues was no longer welcome in her home. They still see each other, but at her other son's house or at restaurants. Her home is now her sanctuary. And because she's no longer trying to control him, she can actually interact with him and have conversations with him like a human being, not like a project. She said, I can finally hear him without trying to fix him. Her entire life changed because she took her hands off the wheel and reclaimed her peace. And then just this morning, I had a 30-minute catch-up call with a former client I haven't worked with in almost 2 years. Her daughter just started college, and the transformation in her family relationships blew me away. When she and I worked together, her biggest focus was being unenmeshed with, or becoming unenmeshed with her daughter, learning where she ends and her daughter begins. She told me today, I had to grieve the change in our relationship. I thought being a good mom meant feeling my daughter's feelings for her, shielding her from pain, but she gets to have her own experiences. She shared a moment when her daughter was having trouble with a friend group. My client started to jump in and her daughter stopped her and said, Mom, I don't need motivation or inspiration. I just want you to listen. That was such a turning point. Now her daughter is at college and my client isn't constantly checking in or trying to manage her life. She knows her daughter gets to make mistakes, have feelings, and grow from them. And the ripple effect didn't stop there. She's having frank, grounded conversations with her husband, something she never could have done before. She told him that if he's willing to do the work, she believes they can rebuild their marriage. But if not, she's not staying. Now, they're in a holding pattern right now, but she's standing in truth instead of fear. And then there's her relationship with her mom. For a while, she stepped back completely to figure out who she was. She faced years of resentment from people-pleasing and never feeling like she had a voice. Now she's reconnected with her mom, but with clear limits. She said, it's at arm's length, but it works for me. And as her sisters start hitting the same wall she once did, she's telling them, you can't change mom, you can only change you. She said, the way I choose to interact with her changes how she interacts with me. And as she was talking, I just smiled because those were my words. She was parroting back things I've said to her years ago, which means she's internalized the work. It was such a beautiful full circle moment, proof of how deep and lasting these shifts can be when you build healthy boundaries. So here's the thread through all of this. Whether it's your child, your spouse, your parent, or even yourself, personal boundaries are acts of self-care. They're not about control or punishment. They're about creating emotional safety inside yourself so you can stop rescuing, stop fixing, stop overfunctioning, and finally rest. And what's interesting is when you start to do that, you realize, oh, instead of putting all that effort out there into trying to control, rescue, fix, and save other people so that they can be okay, so that I can be okay. We can just start with, I can be okay, even if other people around me are not. The moment you learn to take care of yourself first, everything else starts to align. You get to show up from peace, not panic, from clarity, not chaos. So I'll leave you with this reflection question for the week. What would self-care look like if you treated it as your most sacred boundary? Now, if this episode resonated with you, you can explore more about building personal boundaries by signing up for a free Say No Without Guilt session, or you can come join us in the Wholeness Haven community where we keep practicing this work together. Links to both are in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, your boundaries are where your self-care begins. You know how hard it can be to say no, especially when you've spent years putting everyone else first. But here's the truth. You can protect your peace without feeling selfish. I am living proof. That's exactly what I help you start doing in my Say No Without Guilt session. It's a one-on-one conversation where we look at what's been keeping you stuck, what it would feel like to say no with confidence, and how to finally build boundaries that last. If you're ready to stop overgiving and start reclaiming yourself, go to barbchat.net and grab your spot. You'll leave with clarity, relief, and a real sense of what's possible when you start saying yes to you. Again, that's barbchat.net. If you like this podcast, and I'm guessing you did because you're still listening, you will also love my weekly newsletter, Friday Fragments, which has short essays similar to the podcast. You can check it out at fridayfragments.news. That's fridayfragments.news. If you haven't already subscribed to my podcast on your favorite podcast outlet, please do that. It helps carry the message to more people. I started this podcast because there was so much wisdom in recovery that just wasn't making its way out into the world. So I want as many people as possible to hear it. I'd also love it if you'd leave a 5-star rating or a review, which you can do on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find it so they can get the benefits that you've gotten from listening. If someone in particular came to mind when you listen to this episode, please share it with them. And my favorite place to hang out on social media is Instagram. I'm at Higher Power Coaching. Please DM me there. I'd love to hear what you got from this episode. I run private and group coaching programs on building healthy boundaries. Whether you need help with boundaries in your personal, professional, or romantic life, I can help. Head on over to barbchat.net where you can get on my calendar for a free 30-minute Better Boundaries consultation. I also do short-term situational coaching to help people make it through specific situations they're going through, such as divorce, empty nesting, preparing for retirement, or any phase where their identity is shifting. Regardless of the type of coaching, my ideal client is someone who is ripe for change. If that's you, I'd love to work with you. My goal with all my work is to help you make lasting changes in your life, like I've made deep, lasting changes in my life. Remember, it's never too late to recover. No one is beyond hope, and healing is possible. Thanks for listening.